Thanks for watching Talking Law TV. We feature the area's leading local attorneys, recent court rulings, and laws that can affect your daily lives. That's why we say legal news you can use. Coming soon, Talking Law TV's producers will be bringing another news magazine program to WSAV. For Your Health TV, a news magazine show featuring the Coastal Empire's leading health and wellness professionals. For more info about the show, visit the website at foryourhealthtv.com. And thanks for watching.
Have a legal issue? Visit TalkingLawTV.com and leave your question. It may be used on the show.
Hello, we're back with Doug Andrews talking about personal injury and when one sues for pain and suffering.
Yes. Let me first mention, Christy talked about texting. You know that the iPhone now has an application, an app, that is called Type Walking. So you punch on that application and your camera comes up so you can see what you're about to hit while looking at this and typing on your iPhone. So you'll see people, I'm sure, not too long from now, going down the road, driving by looking at the iPhone typing. I'll bet you see it. And then you'll see the crash shortly.
Okay. Well, we talked about, no, that's, I'm just glad they didn't call it type driving, just to give them the idea that you didn't already just give them.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for that. Of course, they've got a whole week to finish it up.
So they've been type driving and they have a serious accident. Run a red light, hit that motorcyclist.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a little bit about pain and suffering. I want to go from, there was one example here of not so obvious injury, migraines, soft tissue injuries and stuff. As an attorney, when you're going for damages, how do you mitigate or find a value for those versus someone missing a limb, for example?
How you quantify it is difficult. You start with the premise, it's a quality of life issue. Is your life as good now as it was before this accident? And if it's not as good now, in what way is it not as good? Can you not play golf anymore? I mean, some people, that's all they live for. Their life's over if they can't play golf. Others, motorcycle riding or whatever the pleasure is. If your lifestyle is hampered, that's a compensable item because it limits your enjoyment of life, pursuit of happiness. And somebody should pay for that loss of your enjoyment.
And how does one place a value on that?
The enlightened conscience of the jury will make that determination. You need to show them and give them some reason why it's worth money, because they can't give the quality of life back. That's the measure of damages is in dollars. That's the only way we can do it. We can't wave a magic wand and make you all better. So there is no hard and fast rule to it. It's whatever a jury thinks that decrease in whatever parameter it is, whether it's mental or physical or emotional. It may be just pain, constant, unremitting pain. Ask yourself, how much would you pay to have the pain of wisdom tooth or dental decay or something that's excruciating pain? Have you ever had an abraded cornea?
No.
That hurts.
A kidney infection, you'd pay everything you own.
Or passing kidney stones. How much would you pay not to have that in your life? $10 an hour? You add up how many hours that is for the rest of your life, and that could be a very large verdict.
Is that part of the challenge in personal injury cases, is to share that pain to the jury and make them understand what the person's going through?
It is, and folks that do that work on a serious level, like Christy Register and Gene Brooks and the Howard Spivas of the world, they will do a day-in-the-life kind of video to show what was life like before and what is it now. And there are some serious, tragic cases. If somebody's confined to a wheelchair because some maniac was texting and ran a red light, somebody ought to pay. And unfortunately, the driver usually only has insurance to rely upon. And if that's so, then you're going to be limited to the policy for real collection effort.
Okay. And then versus someone who's damaged in a physical way, say a broken leg, torn rotator cuff or something like that. Is that make it in some ways easier to collect when you say, oh, look, two pieces, versus it just hurts a lot?
Well, every juror wants to know that it's real. There's not a juror in the world that will award money for what some people say are frivolous claims. Well, it's not going anywhere if it's frivolous. So, because I've tried some cases where I had injuries, but it was the invisible kind. It's a sore back from a rear-ending car wreck or something. If you don't persuade the jury, they're not giving you anything. So you've got to give them something, and if somebody does have an actual broken leg, that will help convince the jury that it's real. But there are people that suffer closed head injuries. You can't see it. So the impact should be strong enough that an expert would say, yes, the physical force was great enough to cause the brain to be bruised and that sort of thing. If it's just a light tap on the bumper and somebody's just trying to scam a case, yeah, that's going to be obvious on its face, and no reputable attorney is even going to waste their time on that.
Does it make your job easier when the person comes into court in a wheelchair, crutches, wearing a brace?
Only if it's legitimate. The joke is that lawyers immediately tell their client to wear a collar. But if you don't have the medical records and the expert witnesses to back up the claim, again, the case isn't going anywhere. It won't have much value because the person's life actually hasn't suffered that much decrease. They may be entitled to some amount, but convincing our insurance companies now to pay legitimate claims is harder and harder. They're more dollar sensitive. They want to show greater returns because they're in business to make money for their shareholders. So they don't willy-nilly pay out money. And so you have to have enough damage to the car or whatever the cause was to justify the injury if it's out of balance or something wrong.
What about ongoing costs like PT for personal physical therapy for the years to come?
And that brings up the two different kinds of damages. We have special damages, and what we're talking about are non-economic damages like pain and suffering, and then you have a third category of economic damages like lost wages, or you aren't able to run your business and had to hire somebody. Those are things you can put dollar figures to. The same with special damages like medical expenses. If you need rehabilitation, that'll be a medical expense, and it's easy to document. You sometimes run into problems with some medical care like chiropractic. I like chiropractors. They do great work for the type of injuries they need to help with, but insurance companies don't pay much on them. So if it's going to require longer rehab, get an orthopedic doctor to look at it.
Okay. With the election cycle coming up, the balance of this year, there's a lot of talk about tort reform. Tell our viewers why they probably don't want that.
Well, first of all, there's the Nesselhut case that was in the news recently. This lady went in for plastic surgery. The doctor did a very risky procedure of 2 types of plastic surgery at the same time, and literally her skin fell off her face, and she was horribly disfigured, and she was a realtor, and the jury awarded her large sum of money. And the judge has held that the cap on those damages of $350,000 was unconstitutional. It denied her the effective right to a jury trial. So tort reform was to save insurance companies money, not to help the doctors because their premiums have not decreased. And it denies a person the right to be compensated for injuries they suffered.
So it's very important that when this election comes around that people look at the candidates and where they stand on this.
I think it is important because they're all at risk of having an injury and not getting fair compensation. So before you think it can't happen to you, look around you.
Okay, Doug. Now you're going to stick around for our PSA. Folks, if you haven't set your recorder, you need to do that. We'll be right back after this.